we showed you how Krystal Ball over at Breaking Points.
Hi, guys.
Guys, come on, guys. We're guysing guys. We're going to guys.
Come on, guys.
Guysies. And, you know, she likes to surround herself with corporate tools like Ryan Grimm, who's on the take from billionaires. He takes a check from a couple different billionaires, and he runs interference for politicians and shits on activists like me for when trying to get health care, and he lies about us and stuff. And that's the kind of people she likes to hook up with. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I like Zager.
And love him. I love Brian. He could come over for a barbecue. So she had on RFK Jr. and she totally did. We already showed you this, so I don't want to go into it too much, but she totally did a bullshit thing about when it came to vaccines. She talked over him. She did stuff like this. And
after a study that shows the opposite. Listen, I don't want to get bogged down in this because I don't think we're going to see eye to eye here.
When she says, I don't want to get bogged down, she means, I don't want to give you a chance to defend yourself or prove that I'm wrong because I just smeared you and I'm not going to let you actually present your case. And she pretended they only had 5 minutes left, which is completely made up.
I know, that's my
completely
favorite
made up. That's my favorite lie she did. She goes, we only have 5 minutes left. You have as much time left as you want. Okay, here we go.
Some other questions we want to get to, and your time is short. But we'll put in post, you know, please send us what you're looking at.
Yeah, we're happy
We'll
to
put
put
what
it
I'm looking at, and people can judge for themselves.
Okay, let's judge for ourselves then, shall we?
So Kim Iversen did. So friend of the show, Kim Iversen, did judge for ourselves. She went and looked at that study that Krystal is talking about. And here's the study. It's from the Lancet, Infectious Diseases. It's from Global Impact of the first year of COVID-19 vaccination. A mathematical, the first year. Okay, that's what she, of course, that's not what RFK Jr. was talking about, but that's the study that she linked to. And what does this study say about, because RFK Jr., he posited that the Vaxx has negative efficacy after 8 or 9 months, that people who take it get sicker and more likely to get COVID. That was what he was saying. And of course, we do know that they did lie about the boosters already. The heads of the vaccine department at the FDA resigned over the boosters. And now we know that the Big Pharma was keeping information and data from the FDA approval board. FDA vaccine advisors disappointed and angry that early data about COVID-19 booster shot wasn't presented for review last year. The data that was not presented to the experts looked at actual infections, who caught COVID-19 and who didn't. It found out that 1.9% of the study participants who received the original booster became infected. But among those who got the updated bivalent vaccine, the one that the scientists hoped would work better, a higher percentage, almost doubled to 3.2% became infected. Both versions of the shot were found to be safe. So we already reported this, and they kept this from the FDA when they approved it. They only tested it on 8 mice, this bivalent thing, and then they lied. And here they are lying again. They kept that. So that wasn't a scandal. It should be. You know why it's not a scandal? Because the news doesn't tell you it's a scandal, because the news gets all their money from Big Pharma. So if they say it's not a scandal, then it isn't. They don't report it. It's not a scandal. So they didn't. And so there it is. So we know that. And now here's what she's going to go in. This is from Krystal, her link.
Findings. Let's go to their findings. They said, based on official reported COVID-19 deaths, we estimated that vaccinations prevented 14.4 million deaths from COVID-19 in 185 countries and territories.
Boy, I wonder how they're counting those deaths. Remember how they counted those deaths? Anyway, I'm calling into question the data that they're using. Anyway.
Between December 8th, 2020 and December 8th of 2021, the estimate rose to 19.8 million deaths from COVID-19 averted when we used excess deaths as an estimate of the true extent of the pandemic, representing a global reduction of 63% in total deaths. Let's go to the funding on this article. This is from the Lancet Infectious Diseases.
So let's go to so that's what that was. Those were their conclusions. It saved millions of lives the first year, right? And that's what Krystal linked as her thing against. Okay. because, of course, she doesn't know anything about the people resigning from the FDA. She doesn't know anything about them hiding the data from the FDA to get the booster approved. She doesn't know anything about anything. And she doesn't want to get bogged down in it because she doesn't know anything. And she links to a study from the first year of COVID.
So the funding on this article.
So who funded this article? This is what Kim Iversen found out. Watch this.
From the Lancet Infectious Diseases. The funding in her study came from Schmidt Science Fellowship in partnership with the Rhodes Trust, WHO, UK Medical Research Council, Gavi.
So the WHO, which is almost completely funded by Bill Gates, Gavi, which is also almost completely funded by Bill Gates, and what's the next one?
Vaccine Alliance, which, by the way, Gavi. So the next one says Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Gavi is also primarily funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
So 3 of their main funders are Bill Gates. The WHO, Bill Gates, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and Gavi is Bill Gates. So 3 of the biggest funders of this study are Bill Gates himself, a guy who, let's remember, made $500 million off the vaccine while everyone else was told to lock down and go broke. 500, and then as soon as he cashed in his $500 million, Bill Gates started shitting on the COVID-19 vaccine, started saying all kinds of bad things about it that I don't even know if I can say here on my show or they'll take it down. As soon as he cashed in his stock. And that's the study that Krystal, who doesn't even know who funded it, I'm sure. She doesn't know anything about anything. But she does know how to do a CNN shitty interview of RFK Jr. about vaccines and COVID. And she was wrong about COVID at every turn. Every turn she was wrong. And she's going to be smug with him. Oh, let's go. So let's listen to what RFK Jr., what his, let's listen to the rest of the funders here.
So it's basically National Institute for Health Research and Community Jimmy. So lots of conflict of interest, I would say, in that study.
Lots of conflict of interest.
I would say that there are players who are funding this study who expect this sort of outcome. Now let's jump over to RFK Jr.'s study that he provided in the description that was in that video. And I didn't make you watch the whole video because it's hard to watch. This one is the effectiveness of the coronavirus disease bivalent vaccine. This one was put out by the Cleveland Clinic. And this one had some interesting data. This is the one that showed the more doses of the vaccine you got, the more likely you were to receive, to end up with COVID. And it was exactly, if you had 1 dose, that's the lowest line, 2 dose, or the lowest line, I believe, is none. And then it was 1 dose, 2 dose, 3 dose, and it goes on and on. The more doses, the more likely you are to get vaccines. They even said in this study, they said the evolution of the SARS-CoV-2 virus necessitates a more nuanced approach to assessing the potential impact of vaccination than when the original vaccines were developed. They said the association of increased risk of COVID-19 with higher numbers of prior vaccine doses in our study was unexpected. So the Cleveland Clinic was like, oh, wow.
Didn't see that coming.
Not exactly what we expected. They said, we still have a lot to learn about protection from COVID-19 vaccination. And in addition to a vaccine's effectiveness, it's important to examine whether multiple vaccine doses given over time may not be having the beneficial effect that is generally assumed. Okay, let's go to their funding. Funding from this.
So this is the funding. This is the study that RFK Jr. sent. And where's the funding come from?
Cleveland Clinic study says none, absolutely no one funded that study. No conflict of interest whatsoever in that study. So there you go. Hers, a very heavily Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, WHO funded study that says vaccines work. And then the other one shows, they work at giving you more COVID more frequently. So with no conflict of interest there. So that's the studies that they provided in this debate. You can't even call it a debate. She shut him down. She says, "I don't want to debate you. I'm going to ask you about vaccines, but then I'm not going to let you talk about vaccines. How dare? Don't. No. Might as well, honestly, at the end of that segment, just come on camera and said we had to censor him because we didn't want to have his anti-vaccine views on this show, and so that's why I would not let him speak. I mean, just at least come out and say we don't want to be demonetized." Or our funders, our donors, if you've got some for that show, I don't know how that show is funded. Maybe you've got funding and you don't want to lose that funding. But I do want to point this out. This is the one thing that is, I do believe that many of the...
Oh, she goes on to point out Krystal Ball's conflict of interests in this segment. That she was for COVID lockdowns because she had stock in an at-home learning thing.
That's her ex-husband. The one who looks like
the head of
John Lovitz.
The head of a company. Yes. Yeah.
I looked that up and I thought maybe that had something.
So we're going to do another segment on that on Monday. So I don't want to get into it because she was also, they had another president, the only other presidential candidate in the Democratic Party, which is Marianne Williamson, officiate at her wedding just a few weeks earlier. And so that goes, that's a little farther than just being friends with someone. And then she also has that the monetary conflict of interest. Krystal does. We're going to do another video on that. I don't want to get into that. But that was, so there you go. So there's your up to date. There's your, she's listening to Bill Gates. He's listening to the Cleveland Clinic funded by nobody. She's listening to Bill Gates.
What, a poor person study?
And so, yeah. And so now you want to get your news from that person about COVID? That's what she's wrong. By the way, also wrong about Ukraine. Is there any, she's also was a Russiagator. Is there anything that she, I mean, if you look close, there's nothing that she hasn't been wrong about. Now, I probably wouldn't be
good on Bill Maher that one time.
She was good on Bill Maher. When she is good, I pointed out. Just like when Ryan Grimm does good work, I pointed out.
Yeah.
But they're, you have to understand they're mostly horrible.
When his hair looks better, I say too.
I say it too. So there you go. And we'll do another segment on it on Monday. By the way, they got ratioed. She got ratioed so hard. 80% of their own viewers were downvoted her. So that's this segment. 80% downvoted it. 80% of their own viewers. There were some people out there tweeting like, if you had a problem with that segment, then you must have a problem with you. What a moronic thing to say. Except 80% of their own fucking audience. I'm going to guess someone else who also went to the wedding. So another news person who went to the wedding. So anyway, there you go. There's your fact check. We looked in. So she provided a study that came straight from Bill Gates. Way to go, Krystal. Way to go. You're doing great work. You're doing great work.
Tell
us how much more we should send. How much more money we should send to Ukraine in this proxy war with Russia. Before and you don't know anything about it. What did you want to say?
Bill Gates 3 times.
Bill Gates three times.
You can't just say from Bill Gates. It's got to be the Gates Foundation, the other Gates thing,
and the other Gates thing. The WHO is a Gates thing. Check out my new stand-up special, COVID Lies Are Funny, at jimmydore.com. Only $10. Become a premium member. We're going to be on tour in Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, Cohoes, New York, Hartford, Los Angeles, Bakersfield, California, Baltimore, Maryland, and San Francisco, California. Plus, did we say Chicago? There's lots of stuff. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. See you there.